Welcome to Roofing Road Trips with Heidi. Explore the roofing industry through the eyes of a long-term professional within the trade. Listen for insights, interviews, and exciting news in the roofing industry today.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome
Good to see you again.
This is the first live roofing road trip in Sisters, Oregon, Richard. I am so excited.
I'm so privileged to be the first one.
I tell you what. So, hello, everybody. This is Heidi Ellsworth with Roofing Road Trips from Roofers Coffee Shop. And I just had to start it out with that this is our first one. This is just so exciting because usually we're on the road or in my office on a Zoom, but the world is opening up. And when you said, hey, I'm going to be in Sisters, I thought, let's do it.
I'm so happy to be here. For people that haven't been to the Pacific Northwest and you're going to do a podcast, come to Sisters. It's a bucket list item to come to Pacific Northwest.
We'll take care of you. Yeah. We'll take care of you. So, Richard, I would love for you to introduce yourself to all of our folks out there. Tell us a little bit about you, about what you've been doing. Let's just kind of start the whole thing because I'm really excited about talking about all the things you have going on.
Okay, perfect. My name is Richard Carroll. I'm the co-founder of the Carroll Consulting Group. I was born and raised in the Northeast in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I had an opportunity to go to college at the University of South Florida in Tampa.
Nice.
I studied mechanical engineering. My junior year, I got married to my beautiful wife, Mary Beth, and we're celebrating our 39th wedding anniversary
Congratulations.
this year. Yeah,
wow.
I'm very, very blessed to be able to have someone like Mary Beth.
Yeah.
And I have three grown children, Alyssa, Brianna, and Devlin. And recently, well, he's almost 2 years old now. The cutest grandkid in the world, without a doubt, my grandson, Luca.
I love that.
It's funny when people used to show me pictures and they say, isn't he cute or isn't she cute? Yeah. And they didn't have much of an interest. But now that I have my own child, he's the best looking kid ever. It's hilarious.
My dad used to say the only reason you have children is so you can get grandchildren. I was like, thanks, Dad.
We love having our grandson. We're looking forward. My two girls are in the planning stages for some more. So we're excited about that. So,
that is so great. Well, and so let's share. I mean, you and I kind of re-met because we've known each other for years through through NRP, through a lot of different associations. But we connected again at the recent Roofing Technology Think Tank RT3 live meetup at Oracle, which was so cool.
That was awesome.
So you're really getting involved in the industry, and I love that with your consulting business and everything that's going on. I would love for you to share with everybody a little bit about your history in roofing, because we have definitely met many times on the path over the last 30 years.
Yeah, it's like everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, I kind of fell into the industry. I was in college.
Yeah.
I needed some extra spending money. Walking through campus, new construction, guy standing near a truck. Hey, are you guys ironing? Yeah. I remember the guy ripping the cardboard off of a keg of asphalt, which I didn't know what it was at the time. And we didn't have Google back then. So I wrote the address down. Next day I show up at that office, and the first time I realized I was applying for a roofing job was the company had roofing in their name. So I applied and I got the job and started out as an apprentice. They worked around my college schedule, which was awesome. And then I became a journeyman and then a foreman. I was fortunate enough to work for a company that traveled all over the U.S. They worked for the government, so we did a lot of military-based work.
I love
and
it.
I also got to travel around the world.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of experience. Learned a lot about the diverse cultures. And growing up in Philadelphia, I was exposed to a lot of diversity, but I felt like I was privileged to be able to travel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So eventually we ran across an asbestos roof. The owner of the company decided, because I was the one that went to college, that I should probably be the competent person. So I ended up going to Georgia Tech and getting the supervisor's license. And then
excellent.
We started doing asbestos removal on roofs. Eventually, I became the license holder. And because all the states we worked in, I had to get licensed. So I guess I became the in-house asbestos expert.
Right.
And eventually, I started my own business.
I love it.
So it was very, very good for the Carroll family.
Yeah.
Eventually, I ended up selling the business. and I went to work for the investment group that brought the business.
Okay. That's happening a lot today.
Yeah.
To a lot of people.
I was so lucky, and in order for me to build my business acumen, it was because of the diversity of the companies I was working for.
Yeah.
Every 2 years, we'd buy, sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to work for, manufacturing or industry. And it was an excellent time. And I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And then another investment group came to me and said, "Hey, we purchased a roofing company. We know you used to be in roofing. Would you mind coming to help us?" So I came back to roofing about 8 years later. And then eventually I got the itch to own a roofing company.
Again, yeah. You can't get away from it.
Yeah, they keep bringing you back in, no matter how you get away. We purchased I actually owned 2 roofing companies and up until recently. And then I retired from the business.
Yeah.
But I wanted to stay engaged. So we started the Carroll Consulting.
What a rich history.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the fact too, starting out with asbestos, because I remember when I first got in, you don't hear about it as much. We know it's still there. You just don't hear about it as much today as we did, in the 90s and 80s and 90s. That was a big, big, big deal.
Right.
Wow. So, I'm really interested because I see a lot of these things talking about asbestos, of trends, right, that we see. So starting when you first started out in roofing to today, what are some of I'm just really interested to hear what you see as some of the things that are really changing, the trends that have either stayed the same or have totally, I can think of a couple of them, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, recently I just read an article, and I don't know if it was put out by the NRCA, it might have, about
usually
the construction industry being so far behind in technology.
Yeah.
And I think the roofing industry is a perfect example of that. There wasn't a lot of change. Mm-hmm. And then we had the pandemic. And many of the companies that I'm working with now, they have a dedicated individual that's responsible for technology.
And they have to have it. It's crazy. Yeah.
So it's exciting for me. I was up in Canada last week visiting 2 of my customers, and one of them does a lot of torch work.
Okay.
And they're having a hard time with their insurance, both companies. So what they're looking for is flameless technology. So one of them's working on something on his own.
Yeah.
And the other one's using some of the things that are in the industry. So you have to stay on top. And I would say for 20 years, even when I was working in the businesses, it was the same old thing every day. And things are changing very rapidly. So I think you need to have a dedicated person in technology that's staying on top of things. I have a couple customers that do modular construction. So they're roofing in a warehouse.
Oh, wow. No way. Tell me about that. That is interesting.
It's so cool. It's the one facility that I went to, they're building a school.
Okay.
And so they put all the plumbing, all the electrical, all the walls up, and they make it in pods that can fit on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
And the roofing they put on top. And then when they get to the job site, it's like Legos. They put it together. Now, I haven't seen that in action. I'm looking forward to it. But it's exciting. Cool. And talking to the roofers, a lot of them are young guys, and a couple guys that have never worked on a roof outside.
They've all done it in the manufacturing.
No, you guys don't know what you're missing. You got to be outside in the weather. But I think that's part of the future.
Right.
Solar, green roofs, cool roofs, all that stuff. We've talked about that stuff from the 80s on, but it never really grabbed. But now I think it's the rate of return on those products are starting to pay off. So people are starting to invest.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen because I'm with you. I was going to the green build, listening to all the solar back in the 90s, early 2000s. And I was like, solar. I was such a huge advocate. And then it's just like, And then now, whoosh, all over again. And I do think the contractors, if you look there were some amazing contractors in the early 2000s who really embraced solar. Right. And they're so far ahead of the curve now. They're getting all this work because it takes a little while to get into it.
Yeah, it's not something typical in roofing. It's new. And there's a nuance to being able to put solar in and be able to, give you an evaluation for your customer, making sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But I think the government is spending a little bit more money with rebates, and so are the power companies. So it's catching on. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it is. It is. The other thing, and I would love your thoughts around this. The other thing that I'm seeing, and it may just be because I'm more involved than I used to be on this level, but it seems like we have some amazing younger generation, whether it's family, generational, or even young people coming into the industry who are starting their own roofing businesses, who are taking over the roofing businesses and bringing all this technology. So I guess I kind of want to go back to that thought. And so I just don't remember that as much when I first started out. It just seemed like kind of kids had their place. That's it. And my dad was a contractor, so I can relate to this.
Right.
Whereas today, you're seeing that next generation so much more involved. You're seeing them at all the events. They're very active in associations, young professionals. What are you seeing that way?
Well, from my viewpoint, I want to be 100% honest. When I was in roofing for the first 10 years, I never told anybody I was a roofer. I was embarrassed.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
so
like,
many people say that,
and I didn't know that I was embarrassed. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know that I was saying that. And then finally, I ran into another roofer, and they called me out on it. They're like, "Why you say you work in construction?"
Yeah.
Roofing has done so much for my family and my life. It's a great career, and I think now that we started talking about it, and I've just recently heard about maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think we are attracting some people. Also, I mean, there's an easy way to make a career and make some money working in roofing where you don't, need to have a special education.
Right.
And I don't think we did a good enough job messaging that. And I think we do now.
So one of the things I know that you're working on really, and so I want to kind of switch to Carroll Consulting. So let's start with, first of all, maybe tell everybody a little bit about your kind of focus and what you're helping and how you're doing it. And then also just really why you started it. You kind of said that in the beginning, but I'd love to hear more.
Well, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, for 40 years is a grind. So I made the decision that I was going to retire. But talking to people in the industry, they're like, stay engaged. And I wanted to, because I want to give back. So when I announced that I was going to retire, I went to visit some of the people in my peer group and some friends, and they said, "Hey, can you come and help me with this?" And so out having an adult beverage, and someone said, "You should start your own business." And another person at the table said, "If you start your business, I'll go in with you."
Oh my gosh!
So that's how we ended up with Carroll Consulting. But the main reason was I wanted to give back. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge in the industry. And I think I have a lot to give. I just didn't want to, go sit at the lake and fish. I wanted to stay involved. And then the other reason was I felt that, by giving back to the Roofing Association, that was my way of saying thank you for what they did for me. And so that was the main purpose. But it's morphed into more than I thought it was going to be. And it's very exciting. Being able to go into a company, which is strange because I was always on an island. The guy up the street, was terrible, the worst roofer.
Right. Yes.
So you never shared anything. And one of the things that helped me was peer groups. And I've been in peer groups for a long time. So I was allowed to learn a lot of best practices from other roofers. Like Curtis from Rackley or Jeff from Raincoat. I mean, I have so many people that have helped me through the years. So I really appreciate that. And I thought that I could reach out to some of the smaller contractors that maybe don't have the bandwidth for a peer group and help them. So
I think it's needed. I need peer groups, and to really talk to people about what's going on and what's happening. I also love the fact of giving back because I feel the exact same way. In fact, when I started, right before when I first started with Roofers Coffee Shop, I also had marketing consulting business. And it's a whole different way of going. And it's so fun because you get to walk in and talk to all these companies and really be a part of their culture and understand what's happening and kind of share your knowledge and then watch them grow. And then you go on to the next, it's very cool.
There's nothing better than having someone starting to explain a problem and you're like, okay, I know the answer.
I've been down here.
I've already done this.
Yeah.
And you have an explanation on when it didn't work and why it didn't work and when it did work and why it worked.
Right.
It's exciting. I really have enjoyed being in Carroll Consulting and being able to travel around and talk to people and help them out.
And you've found some focuses that you've kind of, as you've been talking to everybody, you're starting to see some areas that are definitely in need of. And so I want to recruitment, retention, retirement.
We call it the 3 R's.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I thought I did a tremendous job recruiting talented people, but I lost them. And then I started doing exit interviews. And when I started talking to people and, God, I had an ego. I'm treating you great. You can't leave me. I mean, typical roof speak.
Yeah.
And they're like, Rich, I don't see a future for me. And then I realized that I spent a lot of effort doing the recruitment. But once they came on board, I kind of let them go.
Yeah.
So we tailored our business around retention. And we wanted people to retire with us. Yeah. When I was younger, people worked for one company.
Right.
And they retired there. Yeah. That's a rare exception.
It doesn't happen too much.
So what I've done, every one of my customers we put a plan together for the recruitment, the retention, and retirement. And the recruitment revolves around where they're at. Are they involved in the community? We try to get them involved in the community because they don't have to ask, we're looking for a project manager. Go out in the community and work. Put your name out there, the PM will find you.
Yes.
Okay. So social media, obviously, that's a big thing. Community colleges, trade schools, high schools.
Right.
I have one client that put on a class at a community college for building, and they do a small section on roofing. Now, they're not allowed to solicit the students, but when the students graduate,
they find them.
They're going to go and say, hey, I enjoyed how you taught me, and I would like to come work for you. So we try to build a recruitment program together. We also set up an interview process, and we try to get the people involved in the company to do the interview. And we don't want 30 people in an interview,
right?
But we want to get some of the people that really hold your corporate values to be involved in the interview process, and get them to buy in. I want one of my top people to say, I think this person would be a great fit, and either build what I was thinking or maybe I wasn't thinking. So we try to train the companies to try to get their people involved. And then once that person does come on board, we want to make sure that you're having 6-month reviews. You're talking about their goals. And the reviews are not a disciplinary review. It's a review of what they're going to do the next 6 months so they can reach their career goals. And when you do that with people can see the future and you're going to retain them longer. I don't know if you're going to hold them till retirement, but you're going to have a better shot at it.
Yeah, it's. I think holding to retirement is hard nowadays. Just people are mobile, but that could also change. But one of the things that I have seen too is when they get involved in the industry. And so we have been trying because we have people all over the country, right? And they're through the different associations or National Women in Roofing Councils, having our folks get involved with the industry and start making friends in the industry makes such a big difference. And that was not the way it was, right? When I first started, it was very your own company. But I was in trade shows, so I did get to go to all the trade shows. But I think it's really interesting what you're saying along that line, that getting people involved in a local community, getting involved in the industry, that's so important for retention.
Right. If they're outside of work and they build the connections with other businesses, it's exactly right. It keeps them engaged.
Yeah.
They find out the latest trends. They don't feel like they're stuck in a corner and no one's paying attention to them. So I agree that, when they started the National Women in Roofing, I was so excited about that. Because a lot of the women in our organization felt left out. Right. Because it was a man type of thing. Yeah. So we put as many people as we could in the National Women in Roofing Association. Right. They went to the monthly meetings. They were excited. I could hear the chatter in the office. Yeah. So it's awesome that the industry's doing things like that now. And it was just such a hurdle to share. Yeah. I mean, I was not a big sharer. I didn't, I thought I had all the secrets. I know. And then once I got into a peer group and I started hearing some of the people and what they were doing, I was like, wow, never even thought of that.
Yeah.
And then I realized that if you're doing your job properly and you're doing a good job, you really shouldn't have to worry about anybody.
No.
You just go out and do your job, do your work, and you'll end up making the money that you think you should make,
Right.
and then you can treat people fairly.
Right.
So that's what we try to.
Which is so key,
right.
The treating everyone fairly, but getting them involved. And I think now you're 100% right. It was also secretive, and that's kind of changed. At least you see the people who are successful. That has changed, and to be able to, like you said, recruit, retain, and retire. Recruitment, retention, and retirement. It takes an open conversation to really get the good people there, and that they know roofing is cool. I think that's one of the things we've kind of found is people, we first hire them and they get involved and they're kind of like, yeah, roofing? Really?
I thought it was a tough sell, but it's not.
Not anymore.
No,
We're changing
there's
it.
Too many examples of successful businesses out there. I don't know how many hundreds of families we've affected and supported. I'm very proud of the industry, and I'm stand at the top of the mountain and yell and tell everybody about it.
When you think about it, everybody needs a roof.
Yes.
So even during recessions, even during some of the craziness that's been going on during COVID, we were essential workers. It's so important. So with what you're saying, I think it's so cool when you're talking about not holding all the secrets or not thinking you're an island. You've said that a couple times. So why and how should roofing contractors out there look at getting training and consulting and joining a peer group? What's some of your advice, and why should they really look at going down that road?
I once again, I think it's about getting involved. I've been involved with roofing companies that, I'm not going to send my people to the IRE. Yeah. All they're going to do is party.
Right.
They're going to come back with knowledge. Yeah. They probably will have a few drinks, but they're going to
roofing.
They're going to come back with something. Convincing them that by interacting with other people, you're going to be more successful. And all you have to do is look at the successful companies in this country.
And you'll see it.
They're participating in everything.
Yeah.
Best the Success, the NRCA, National Women in Roofing, RT3, you name it. They're involved.
Yeah.
And they're successful.
Roofing Alliance. I mean, just so many. Yeah.
You have to get involved. And I would, divvy up in your company. We try to, if it's a service type of organization, have your service manager.
Right.
If it's an operations thing, have operations. If it's someone in the office in accounting, have them involved in accounting. It doesn't have to be exactly roofing, but get them involved in organizations. They're going to come back with ideas, and then you sit down and have an open discussion with them. I mean, it's hard to start every new idea,
right?
But you want to listen. So once again, I think it's engagement, having your employees engage, and you shouldn't be afraid.
So I think you're right. Associations, and if you're worried about your competitor being in the same room, then get involved on a regional, Western states, right? Or go National Roofing Contractors Association. There's always ways. But really, this peer groups is also becoming, we're actually starting to do a few peer groups. We're going to be doing a marketing peer group on Roofers Coffee Shop, just because I've talked to so many marketing people who are like, we would just like to talk about what you're doing with Google Ads across the country, right? But you're doing peer groups that are going to really kind of bring people together on these 3 R's and the whole thing. Right. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm actually partnering up with a couple people that run peer groups.
Okay, perfect.
What I think Carroll Consultant's going to bring to the table is, once we can get some of our customers involved in the peer group and they learn some best practices, we can help them implement that. That's where I kind of struggled. I would go and come back with 20 great ideas.
Right.
And then 3 months goes by, I go to another group and they're like, well, what did you implement? I'm like, I didn't do anything.
I know.
So because
there's so much to do.
You're working on the business.
Yeah.
You don't have time to work. You're working in the business. You have time to work on it.
Right.
So what we do at Carroll, what the Carroll Consulting Group is, we're going to get you involved in one of 3 peer groups. I think everybody knows who some of those peer groups might be.
Yeah.
I won't mention their names, but we're going to get them involved in the group. And then once they come back and they say, we really like this idea, then we're going to sit down with them and go through a plan on how they can implement that.
I love it.
But we're going to encourage them to join a peer group or get involved.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not a peer group, even if it's, FRSA in a couple of weeks, they're going to learn something. They're going to run into somebody during that meeting on the floor, and they're going to start talking, and they're going to hear something that they didn't know.
Right.
And that's what we encourage, is that they get involved. If it's national, local, however they're going to do it.
Going to the classes. I mean, I think about, we've presented at Florida and most of the shows, and people are taking all these notes. And then I know how that works, because I do the same thing. I get home. And then, so to have that help, that accountability makes such a difference. Yeah. Wow. So how can contractors get involved with you?
It's pretty easy. I mean, the best way to reach us is our website, and it's ccgrp.online. That's ccgrp.online. When you click on the web page, there's a contact us button in the top right. All you have to do is click that. You can fill out a form, and we'll reach back out to you. Or there's an interactive calendar. So if you want to schedule a free consultation at your time, you can pick the time, and then we'll do a Zoom meeting, or we'll do a phone call, and hopefully we can help you somehow.
Free altogether.
So I'm usually involved in the first consultation, and depending on what you're looking for, I might have one or two other people, someone that that is retired in the industry that might be able to come help you.
I love it. So, and we didn't talk about that earlier, and I meant to. So I want to talk about that now. So you are also working with other retired roofing professionals. Yes. How great is that? Yeah. I mean, all this knowledge, all this experience is exactly what people need.
Yeah, it's funny how it morphed into this, but once it started, then I started making phone calls to people that either sold their business but still wanted to be active, or maybe they were an executive and they retired. I recently placed somebody on a board. We do a board member selection. If you have a board,
great. Yeah.
I highly encourage, if you have a board, reach out to us. Most of the boards I find in the roofing industry are family owned, and the next door neighbors on the board, and they're not getting the benefit they really need. I recently placed somebody from Fargo, North Dakota, with a company in Florida, and they have nothing to do with roofing. And they've been to 3 board meetings, and the owners called me and said, "This person is fabulous."
I love that.
Wow. They have a diverse board now.
Yeah.
And they're hearing things that they wouldn't have heard.
Diversity of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have diversity. You have to have a whole mixture of things to be able to put it in a pot, and it comes out, the recipe comes out perfect.
Perfect.
So
one of the things I'm really excited about is you, so if you need that website, you can also find it on the Carroll Consulting directory on Roofers Coffee Shop. Perfect. Because you're joining us. We're going to be at our first podcast. We're going to have you on there, and you're going to be writing some articles for us. Perfect. Which I'm so excited to really bring some of that knowledge, and maybe some from some of your other retired friends. But those are the kind of things that we want to keep bringing out through Roofers Coffee Shop. So you'll get a big chance to see how great this is. Check out the directory and really kind of watch for ongoing content that will help give you some of the tips, some of the nuggets you need to get started.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very excited.
Yeah, this is so great. Well, thank you first of all for being at our first live in Sisters, Oregon roofing road trip. That's pretty exciting. And I got to put a special thank you out to the team, because they kind of pulled all this together for us, but we'll be doing a lot more this direction. And thank you again for coming, and we'll have you back again and over a lot of those great topics.
Well, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. I am just so excited about this, and we'll keep bringing you all this great information, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's online, or whether it's in person. So be sure to check out the directory for Carroll Consulting on Roofers Coffee Shop. Also, check out all their articles. We're going to have a lot of great content that's going to help you with those 3 R's of recruitment, retention, and retirement. But also check out all of our podcasts, all of our Roofing Road podcasts underneath the navigation of RLW under podcast with Roofing Road Trips, or on your favorite podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. And we'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a review. Thanks for listening. This has been Roofing Road Trips with Heidi from therooferscoffeeshop.com.